Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of South Park, Fort Collins. And this was another great episode. I really liked kind of what they were doing and how they're able to kind of focus on certain story parts and kind of bring them all together to kind of drive forward the overarching story that they've got going this season. So, our first thing we get in the episode is strangely Cartman on Mars. You're like, what's going on here? And then if you remember, when Heidi showed him her vagina, he said he saw colonization on Mars and all that, and everybody being cool, and this was kind of Cartman's daydream, and it kind of makes sense because then we see everybody acting cool, we see the vagina-shaped buildings and the amusement parks, and this is how Cartman would see it as being a really kind of cool future to see. So he's doing that, and then it's brought back into like reality, and Cartman's sitting in the fast food place where he's having lunch or whatever with Heidi, and Heidi's like, well, what's wrong, Cartman? And he's talking about like Kyle not being Kyle, because Kyle had said that he was going to try and find the troll. But then he's gotten embroiled in the boys versus girl war that started up from the school. So they're like, alright, let's go and talk to Kyle and everything. And that sets them off on that kind of path. Then we get to check in with Gerald and the trolls, and all the trolls come over and they're like, look, we did it. We trolled an entire country. What are we going to do next? What's our next kind of thing? Maybe we could do it with the election and all that. And Gerald's like kind of ticked off, takes Dildo aside and says, I'm only doing this for fun. I did it as a kid. I've got no politics behind this. I do it for the reaction, for the lulz. And it's like, so he just wants to be a troll. That's how he does it. Dildo Schwaggins, on the other hand, is doing it for more political reasons to kind of get back at why people would do that. He's like, well, that's the kind of problem I had because I didn't know why people were ragging on me and trolling me, so that's why he would troll other people. And he's trying to become and cement his friendship with Gerald, but he just won't let it. Granted, Dildo has some weird things doing it, because Gerald's doing his trolling and everything, and he's going to FaceTime and singing him songs, and so he's like, stop trolling me. It's like, seeing how, like, negative and kind of bad that Gerald can be. It's just like, granted, he has done stupid and insane kind of things before, but this is showing, like, a kind of really nasty side to him, and kind of exposing how trolls sometimes operate, in that you just cannot give them what they want. If you do that, if you give them something to chew on, that just emboldens them more. We've seen that arc as Gerald has continued this season. The more people react to him, the more he's like, ha, and the nastier and eviler he gets with what he's doing. And seeing the trolls be like, especially Dildo's like, he thinks he's doing something good. And it's like, okay, but he doesn't recognize the kind of negativity that Gerald has done until they get into later, and Dildo's pretty much fed up with him. He had like brought to bring him a gift and all that, and he's trying to get it into his head. He's like, well, what if somebody had photoshopped a dick into your wife's mouth? And he's like, oh, like my fucking screensaver? It's like, he doesn't care. That's how he works that way. And I think Dildo finally acknowledged that, because later on when stuff starts getting real, Gerald like tries to FaceTime him to kind of get the trolls together, and Dildo's just like not taking his call. So as that's going on, we get to Cartman and Heidi talking to Kyle, and of course it's in the bathroom again, and that's just funny in and of itself, with Cartman doing what he's doing, and Kyle's like, listen, I'm in the bathroom. It's like, oh, don't worry, we've seen everything. It's like, yeah, but not me. And Cartman's kind of talking to him about how he had started to try and find out who the troll was and kind of fix this, and seeing how kind of brought back to that, it's like, okay. And then he shows what Heidi figured out, and it was a funny nod to the kind of Da Vinci Code kind of thing, with the emoji analysis, being able to figure out who is the troll by analyzing their emojis. And she had this giant wall and everything, and figured out it wasn't a kid at school, because the emojis weren't as sophisticated as a kid nowadays would be, with how they've been ingrained with emojis. And she started expanding her search, and she's like, well, it's similar to the adults, but it's still kind of cruder and all that. So we're thinking it's more of a parent or whatnot, or an adult outside of the teachers. And that kind of course, set Kyle and all that into their kind of frenzy to figure out what that's going to be going for. And of course, they had given this to Denmark, and Denmark was able to complete their program. And they're like, all right, we're good. We don't need crowdfunding anymore. Let's do this. And so they set a test to Fort Collins, Colorado, because they had homed in to that's where the troll that they were hunting for. And as that happened, everybody had access to any negative thing that anybody had ever said, and complete chaos ensued. And it was pretty good, and we saw it through the lens of the one troll, Triple K, and it's like, he was freaking out because people had figured out what was going on, and he was trying to get out of town, and then of course he kind of got his comeuppance in a way, because one of the parents of a kid that he had trolled poured gas on him and lit him on fire. And that is kind of what would kind of happen, because everybody would go crazy and pretty much try and take out whoever was saying negative stuff about them. It was like, holy shit. And then, of course, that sets off Gerald and trying to figure out, okay, we got to do something. This is really bad. How do we even try and protect against this? And then, of course, after they're saying that, Kyle then goes to talk to Cartman and be like, yeah, Cartman, this can be used on anybody. A troll, someone can be a troll to anybody, no matter what they say. It can be negative, it can be constructive, and people are like, oh, who's this person? They said something I don't agree with, and oof. And here came one of the funniest kind of things that was going on, and that once Kyle explained that to Cartman and how he has probably said stuff on the internet that Heidi would not like, he then flashed forward back to when the Ghostbuster came out, and how he ragged on it and said that the chicks ruined it. He had sent that email off to Butters, and he's like, oh shit. And then he goes and tries to make it all right with Heidi. He's like, because we then saw some interesting parts with the whole Mars scenario in his head, and that it was pretty much being destroyed because he's like seeing it crumble before his eyes. He's like, oh god, oh god. And then he pretty much tries to lie his way out of it, saying that somebody had taken his phone and said all this stuff, and that if you see it, it's not me. She's like, oh, don't worry, I believe you. Anyway, the emoji analysis will be able to figure out who it is anyway, so you're good. Because we saw that brief moment where Cartman's like, yes, Mars is back, and then it's like, no! It's like, yeah, we're gonna have to see how this is gonna turn out, because yes, they can find the troll, but I think Kyle and Cartman are probably gonna have to team up to stop Denmark, because that's gonna go crazy. Coupled with the fact that we also got this plot that was going on, that Randy and Garrison were trying to figure out ways to destroy the member berries, which was a pretty well executed one. Because at first I didn't know where the joke was going to go, but it went in a pretty good spot. Because they were first trying to figure out how to destroy them, and they had one, and they had the jar, and they were like looking in there. One of the member berries kind of has some kind of sentience. It's like, oh god, they're trying to like torture us and burn us and acid. That was kind of funny. It's like, ah! But then it's alright. And then Randy's like coming up with me, like, Garrison, you just have to speak as a human. He's like, I don't know if that'll work. I've said the most vulgar stuff, and they still keep eating it up. So then they're trying to figure out another way to do stuff with the member berries and find out that they've kind of escaped from their jar. So we see Garrison talking on the TV, explaining that people need to vote for Hillary Clinton and do all that to make sure that no bad stuff happens. And then, of course, with the rolling theme of like ragging on The Force Awakens, which I don't mind, but there's some other stuff that they could have tied it into to kind of make it work a little bit better. But I think it'll pan out more once they probably try and use J.J. Abrams as the member berry villain. That needs to be accelerated at least a little bit, I think, just to kind of get it in there, because we still don't have a clear-cut idea of what the member berries are going to have their effect on at the moment. Or if J.J. Abrams is like the head member berry or something. So those escape member berries, which had a great sequence that they somehow found a little car and were driving and listening to Toto and had one of their own kind of tied up and beat the hell up in their trunk. It's like, what the hell's going on? But then it goes on further, and we see that they used that member berry, put it in a cocktail that was going to Caitlyn Jenner, who was the running mate of Garrison. So it's gonna be kind of exciting and interesting to see how that is going to affect Garrison's campaign. If they'll somehow pull something out of their ass and somehow win, but what that win will accomplish. And then we got it finished off with Hillary Clinton being like, oh, I'm the presumptive president and all of that. I'm good. But then her aides come in and say, well, see, the thing is, this troll thing can find anything on the internet, and that's a problem. So we're going to need help from Skankhunk42. And it's like, how is Gerald going to be the hero? He started off doing all this crap, created this situation, but somehow he's probably going to be the hero in this to, like, defeat the Denmark system, possibly, or somehow help Hillary Clinton. I don't know. It's kind of weird and an interesting kind of development. It's like, oh God, what's going to happen? But it's really kind of interesting how they're trying to tie everything together, and it's tying together in a really kind of interesting and cool way, even though they sometimes just have their ideas down like right before the episode is going to be aired, and then just kind of like do it. So it's cool to see it done this way and using all this stuff that's been going on in the world. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.